Be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. May I ask those in the chamber to please stand while she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh. You're on mute, Councilmember.
Councilmember McCluskey, please unmute.
Fixed. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. On November 22nd, the county auditor certified our recent general election, and in that certification, a new council member was appointed to fill position number 4. That is Mr. Ed Wood. At this time, he is going to be sworn in as he assumed his position immediately upon council member Grassie's untimely death. So at this time, may I call Mr. Wood forward to be sworn in and ask that our city clerk swear him in officially.
Please raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Edward Wood,
I, Edward Wood,
having been duly elected
to
the office of council position number 4
the office of council position number 4
of the city of University Place, Washington,
of the city of University Place, Washington,
solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I'm a citizen of the United States
that I am a citizen of the United States
and of the state of Washington,
and of the state of Washington,
and I will support
the
constitutions of the law
constitutions of the law
of the United States
of the United States
and the constitutions of the law
and the constitutions of the law
of the state of Washington,
of the state of Washington,
and I will, to the best of my judgment,
and I will, to the best of my judgment,
skill and ability,
truly, faithfully,
diligently and impartially
perform the duties
of the office of city council member,
of the office of city council member,
city council position number 4,
city council position number 4,
in and for University Place, Washington,
in and for University Place,
as
Washington.
such duties are prescribed by law.
Such duties as are prescribed by law.
Help me God.
So help me God.
If I can have you sign here.
And now that you have officially taken your oath and signed your paper, you are now eligible to come up and sit at the dais this evening and join us. So we now have Council Member Ed Wood that has joined the City Council for his very first official meeting. Thank you. So with that, our next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. May I call for a motion to approve the agenda as submitted?
Yes, Mayor, this is Councilmember Keel. I move approval of our agenda as permitted.
Okay, do I have a second?
This is Councilmember Figueroa. I second.
Okay. Do I have any objections to approving the agenda as submitted? Do I hear any? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, the motion carries unanimously. At this time, we are on the public comment section of our agenda, and individuals that would like to speak will be given 3 minutes to provide their comments. First, we will take comments from those present in the council chambers. Then we will take comments from those joining us remotely. So those that are joining remotely will shortly see the information on how to log in and submit for public comment. If I have 2 individuals that are joining us this evening that have signed up to speak, may I ask Mr. Chris Kimball to come forward to public comments. Please provide your name and address for the record. And again, you have 3 minutes in which to address the council.
Is this mic okay? Can I take the mask off while I speak?
No.
I cannot.
Per
Well,
governor's
I'll try to-
mandate, everybody must be masked.
I will try to enunciate. By the way, hi Denise. She was my next door neighbor when we moved here 33 years ago. Well, I'm here to talk about the alarm permit. I did not get the notice a year ago for some reason, or I didn't remember getting it. And I wanted to comment on this because of the little letter that appeared in the Suburban Times. Some of you may have noticed. My opinion is that, of course, the alarm system being taxed essentially every year is something that I'm not comfortable with. I don't think the government needs to really know whether or not I have an alarm system or not. I was especially disturbed when I read the regs that the fine for not having an alarm system registered is $250 per day. And my thought was that that's more of a disincentive for people to have alarms, because either people are going to ignore it, thereby making a large swath of University Place residents criminals, or B, they're going to be able to pay, and that's, again, unfortunate for them, and C, people may just say, I can't afford an alarm system, I don't want to pay this fee, and so they will not have an alarm system, they'll simply disconnect it. And that, of course, is opposite of providing and promoting the health, safety, and welfare of the general public. In fact, it's causing them to be in more danger because they won't have an alarm system. So that seems counterproductive. I do understand false alarms. I understand the necessity for fining false alarms, and I think after maybe 1 or 2 grace periods, charging people for false alarms makes sense. But I wonder why, if you're doing alarms for the home, why not smoke alarms and car alarms and everything else? Sort of, where does it stop? That's my fear, of course, which is probably unfounded. But the concern that I spoke to a couple people, council members and so forth, I appreciate their time. One of the concerns was that people don't own the homes. Well, in that case, the fine could be delivered there, and then they could certainly forward it on to the owners of the premises or business. So that seems a pretty simple solution. The other thing is, if there are insufficient police to maintain monitoring of these alarms and so forth, then I would say hire more policemen or policewomen. If I'm going to be paying fees or taxes, I would rather go to that. Then maybe you wouldn't have to charge for the false alarms because there would be enough officers to take care of it. But with all that said, the real reason I'm here is because I want some advice from you as to how to change this, because obviously the city council probably is tasked with helping the public and supporting the public, and I think as the public learns of this, I think the vast majority will agree with me. They don't want to pay an annual fee for their own private alarm system. So is the petition, phone calls, letters, what is the best way to influence the council to make this change, to repeal this ordinance? And that's pretty much, I've got other points, but I want to stay within my 3 minutes. I want to be sensitive to the time. So anyway, that's what I'm saying, and I'm hoping that you will give me some feedback.
Okay, thank you very much. Unfortunately, during public comment section, we don't comment, but I would be glad to speak with you afterwards or direct you to city staff member that can help answer that question.
Give me a call.
Sure, thank you. Okay, our next individual that has signed up is Mr. Steve Thorndill. Please come forward and provide your name and address for the record, please.
All right, good evening, Mayor Bellici, City Council members, and University Place citizens. My name is Steve Thorndill. I live on 53rd Street West. My wife and I have been residents for over 30 years. I was on the Park Advisory Commission for a 3-year period and served as chair for the final year and a half. In my last council visit on October 18th, I lamented the fact that the City of University Place has had more than 2 years to review the master plan at Cirque Park to see if any major changes are to be recommended. I see it now appears in the 2022 proposed work plan for the Park Advisory Commission. Knowing how long it has taken city staff and council to make decisions on new requests or initiatives, I am not hopeful that an official master plan review will be accomplished prior to the time the city can next apply for RCO funding for state and federal matching funds. I have reviewed the 1999 Cirque Park Master Plan many times. I don't believe, however, that there needs to be any changes to the plan for the city to apply for RCO funding in May 2022, should the city wish to build sports outdoor courts at Cirque Park. The consultant who helped write the 2020 PROS plan said that building outdoor sports courts, 4 pickleball, 2 tennis, and 1 basketball court at Cirque Park, and continuing to hold land at the north end of Cirque Park for a future community center, could both be done within the existing plan. Also, on page 20 of the 1999 master plan, it says, a sand volleyball court is situated to the east of the shelter. This will serve a wide range of people, including picnic groups. If the projected use of the volleyball court is not realized, it could be converted into tennis or basketball. Some 22 years after the Cirque Park master plan was written, pickleball was frequently quoted by national sources as being the fastest growing sport in America. The 2020 PROS plan reported on page 49 that the rising number of pickleball players in the U.S. has been staggering, believed to be more than 3 million players in the U.S. alone. Given its low cost of play and small court size footprint, it has become a very popular sport for the older generation while still being very easy to pick up at any age. Many cities are adding multiple pickleball courts due to their enormous growth in the sport. On page 205 of the PROS plan, there were 125 references to pickleball, more than any other sport. In addition, there were 31 references to basketball, 22 to tennis, and only 7 to volleyball. Please remember, there are no opportunities now for citizens to play pickleball, tennis, or basketball in our UP parks. Lacey, Olympia, Yakima, and Bend, Oregon are a few examples of cities that have expanded their things. I urge the City Council and staff to apply for matching funds to the state RCO grant application in May 2022 to build a sports complex at Cirque Park to provide opportunities. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time on this.
Thank you, Mr. Thorndill. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak this evening? Okay. Is there anybody logged on to speak virtually? Okay, I am not seeing any unfamiliar people logged on to our virtual meeting, and therefore I will close the public comment section of our meeting and move to our next item, which is the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve or amend the consent agenda as proposed?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, this is Councilmember Keel. I move approval of our consent agenda as proposed.
Okay, I have a first. Do I have a second? You are muted, Councilmember Figueroa.
This is Councilmember Figueroa. I second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Are there any objections to the consent agenda as provided for? Okay, not seeing or hearing any, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We are on to our next item on the agenda, which is our city manager report. May I ask for Mr. Steve Sugg to turn his camera on, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, one item, Mayor, that on Saturday, December 18th at 11 a.m., there will be a ribbon cutting for the Chambers Creek Trail pedestrian bridge recently built and installed across Chambers Creek, which opens up quite a bit of trail that was inaccessible to the public. So we're very excited to announce that ribbon cutting December 18th at 11 a.m. It is a invitation only event due to the parking limitations and the space limitations at the site. However, it will be for the general public. There'll be an opportunity to watch the event via Zoom. And we're very excited to how this was done in coordination with our partners at the City of Lakewood and also Pierce County Parks and Recreation together through our joint interlocal agreement that was adopted, that was approved by each respective council. We have now hit that and completed that first major milestone for this project. So we're very excited about this. December 18th, Saturday, December 18th at 11 a.m. Ribbon cutting for the Chambers Creek Trail pedestrian bridge. And that's my report for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sugg. We are now moving to council comments and report outs. I will use our roll call speaking and voting chart. Councilmember Figueroa, do you have any comments or report outs at this time?
Thank you, Mayor. Only one comment. This is directed at our city manager, Steve Sugg. Would like to have, along with the update you gave on the bridge ribbon cutting, the update that the council here in consensus agreed that we should give that bridge a name, and hopefully maybe one that represents the Gold Star families, and would appreciate updates on that given. And if you need more direction in making that happen, please let us know. We'll pass a resolution.
Thank you. Councilmember Keel, do you have any comments or report outs at this time?
Great, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple comments. I just want fellow council members to know that you guys do just know, I just want to remind you that we're getting into, as we get into the holiday season, a lot of other agencies are starting to gear up for the legislative session in January of next year at the state level. And AWC and our transit agencies are starting to really look at their efforts that they're going to need to get things passed through this legislative session. So I just want to just remind my colleagues that that is coming. There will be, I'm sure, some asks of us and things that we may have to be doing and respond to as we go through the legislative session. And just want everyone to just get their heads and minds and put their game face on for that session coming up in January. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Wood, do you have any comments or report outs at this time?
I do not.
Councilmember McCluskey, any report outs or comments at this time?
Thank you, Mayor Belisi. I do. I went to the PCRC meeting in November, and the vote wasn't taken on the updates to the countywide planning policy, so that will be delayed. So we'll have a December 16th meeting, which is a rarity because we usually cancel that December meeting. But because there's been a lot more in-depth discussion and last minute breakout sessions and some ad hoc committees, so that vote has been delayed, and hopefully it will take place on December 16th. And it's the rub goes with the local authority versus, the state authorities, which is always the rub, right? And so especially, I brought up again the target growth numbers in the population that everyone's been mandated. That's unreasonable. And Mr. Larson, who's in charge of all these updates, indicated that in 2022, the PCRC and the PSRC are going to revisit the population growth numbers and to see if there would be any updates. But I'm not really hopeful on that because, we've had that discussion before, and seems like the state typically prevails on that. But at least there's a little opening of the door for something. And then the other rub was the accountability factor in regards especially to some of the population economic growth factors when cities or municipalities or local towns cannot meet them. And they try their best to meet them on, what is the repercussions to that? We don't want to be dealt a heavy hand, especially when we've tried so hard to meet the numbers in the market, or the growth movement is not there for our city So more to come on that. And then to Mr. Kimball's comment, I believe we're going to bring the permitting back to discussion the last meeting in December.
That's correct.
Right? And so several citizens have emailed me, and so I've taken some notes and we'll bring in all those back. So I'm sure we're going to have a very robust discussion in regards to the outcomes and what our intention was and in the reality of actually what has occurred. And then to Mr. Thorndill's comments, COVID had a lot to do with some of the delays, especially with the CERT Park updates. It's, as he stated, 1999. That's been a long time ago, and I think things have changed, especially after COVID, how people use the parks and enjoy them. So I would like to hear feedback and to open up the master site plan and to get that significantly updated. So with that, I would like to welcome Ed Wood on board. I'm excited to have him as a fellow council member. Looking forward to working with him. So congratulations and welcome. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember McCluskey. I would like to, before I welcome Councilmember Ed Wood, I would like to thank Councilmember Howard Lee for his 2 years of service on the council. Without him, we would have been in a tough situation with being able to meet, having a majority on the council at times with council absences, etc. But he came in and he took to this position and a running start and did a fabulous job. So he will be here at our next meeting on December 6th when we will offer him a proclamation and recognize him for his 2 years of service. But that being said, I would like to congratulate Councilmember Wood. It's going to take me a while to get Councilmember Wood out. And welcome you on board and offer any help I can or answer any questions as you navigate through the complexity that is City Council at times. And I love having somebody on the dais with me. So any of you other council members, there are other positions open. I'm always open to having other people come into council chambers, and I'm sure our citizens would love to see council members in person during a meeting. I was not able at the last meeting to provide some updates on some of the ribbon cuttings that we've had in the community, and with Small Business Saturday just having concluded this last weekend, I hope that our citizens in University Place made an effort to go by some of the small businesses that we had and some of the ribbon cuttings that we've had over the last year to celebrate the women-owned business, the family-owned business, the university businesses that we have. But since our last meeting, we've done ribbon cuttings for the Podworks, which has been in University Place for 4 years, but we celebrated their 4-year anniversary. And that is an absolutely unique business in that it is an incubator specifically for those working parents that need a place to get away from the house, be able to conduct business, talk with other fellow business owners, and yet have their children in tow. And I was amazed at how this operated and that it's been there so long. Had it happened 34 years ago when I had young ones, my whole trajectory may have changed from what it is. We had the fresh laundry that is over in Narrows Plaza, and there was one other business opening that we have done, and I can't remember the name of it. You'd think I would know. Okay, that was it. All right. For the community and for council, I would like everybody to know that as of December 1st, our virtual video that we all taped here a couple weeks ago is going to go live, meaning that starting December 1st in the evening, moving through the Christmas holidays, our tree in Town Center will officially be on every night. So those of you that have made it a holiday process to come out and have your picture taken, I would suggest that you celebrate and look for the video to come out. It will be on our newsletter and our social media pages. Also on December 4th, the Sun Dogs will be having Santa Paws in the meadow at Chambers Bay Regional Park from 10 to 2, so you can support a local nonprofit and get pictures of your pup with Santa at that time. And then last but not least, December 10th is our Cheer Up Reverse Parade through Town Center, through the village at Chambers Bay. Please come by and see what our local merchants here in the village have to offer for holiday spirit. There will be music, giveaways, and it's a chance to get to know your local business owners. The village at Chambers Bay are all local businesses. They are sole proprietor businesses, they are franchisees, but they're locally owned. The employees are all local. So come and support our businesses and participate in the holiday spirit. So with that, I have no further comments. We will move to our study session item, and this is our commission work plans. Our first commission work plan is our planning commission. We have our chair, David Graybill, is online. I'd like him to turn his video on. And our staff support person, David Swindell, is here too to offer the plan. We'll be looking at what these various commissions are planning on doing for the next year, and then we will be approving those work plans at our next study session, or at our next council meeting, sorry. So with that, Mr. Graybill, welcome, and David, welcome.
Thank you. Because I was the staff member that put it together and presented it to the Planning Commission, if you allow me, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, I'll present, and then Mr. Graybill can answer questions if you have any. In accordance with Ordinance 692, the City Council establishes an annual work plan for the Planning Commission based on direction from the City Council, state mandates that require plan or regulatory amendments, and advice from staff. Following staff presentation to the Planning Commission on November 3rd of this year, the Planning Commission recommends the City Council to direct the Planning Commission to work on the following during 2022. During the first half of the year, the Planning Commission will review the municipal code and make recommended amendments to improve the form-based code, which now we've implemented since December of last year, so it's almost a year on. And staff has a number of issues that have come up while reviewing developments that we would like to tweak, if you would, to meet the intent of the form-based code, or at least recommend those tweaks, if you would, to the City Planning Commission. And make other adjustments, for example, to the multifamily tax exemption provisions in Title IV, Revenue and Finance. We have some existing language that needs to be updated to recognize the new multifamily tax exemption target areas that the City Council has adopted since it was first enacted. For most of the year, the Planning Commission will continue to work on the Northeast Business District Plan. They started that this year, and then we put it on hold. The Planning Commission had recommended or requested some funding from the City Council to hire a consultant to assist with this effort. The City Council approved that during the budget adjustment, and we are currently out with an RFP for that consultant. And so that's yet to be selected. We should be getting going with that again early next year. And lastly, but not least, we recently adopted, or the City Council recently adopted, a strategic housing action toolkit that recommends a number of actions in the first 1 to 2 years after the housing action plan was adopted. And we were looking at some of those proposed actions within the housing action toolkit. We have also attached a matrix in your council package that indicates when during the year those work items will be done. And with that, I understand that one of the council members also requested a copy of the 2021 work plan, which was accomplished this year, to be included in the packet. So if you have any questions regarding that, we would be happy to answer. That will be all.
Okay. At this time, since we are in study session, if any council member has any questions, just raise your hand. I see Council Member McCluskey, you have raised your hand.
Thank you, Mayor Belisi. Mr. Swindell and Mr.
Yes.
Graybill, thank you for coming. And Mr. Swindell, thank you for all your hard work you've done for the city in the past 25 years plus.
Thank you. Yep.
Yes, we appreciate it, and we will certainly greatly miss you.
Thank you.
Just a point of clarification on just the naming. I understand the Northeast Business District is pretty much the Narrows.
That's
over
correct.
there. The 27th Street Landing project, is that 27th and Grandview? Is that what it's going to be called?
The 27th Street Landing project which you'll be introduced to again at your next meeting, council meeting, is at the old Haps Auto Wrecking and the
yes.
Bosnick site, which is located on 27th and 67th. And that is within the Northeast Business District. Correct.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Now I have a name. I didn't realize it was already named. Okay. And darn, I was hoping it was going to be the other one, 27th and Grandview.
Yeah, well,
Hopefully we'll get some updates on that one soon.
That's moving forward as well. I think Mr. Brisky is in attendance this evening. He'll probably be able to bring you up to speed on that one better than I can.
Okay, great. Glad I hear traction on that.
Mm-hmm.
On that one. So overall, this looks pretty good. It looks pretty solid. It looks like it's going to be fruitful and also lots of work. So thank you for putting together a pretty aggressive commission work plan, because that means we're on a fast trajectory and traction. So I appreciate that very much. So thank you, Mr. Graybill, for coming, and all your hard work and your commission's hard work as well.
Councilmember Figueroa, followed by Councilmember Keel.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Councilmember Figueroa, and a couple of comments. One is David. Again, my understanding you're leaving at the end of this year, right?
April Fool's Day.
April. Oh, got it. Good. Okay. Well, I'll say goodbye later on then.
Okay, thank you. That's after my birthday, so I'll be 1 year closer to retirement.
48 or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But okay, I'll wait for my comments later then.
Okay, thank you.
But no, thank you for all your work here as well. But the only thing that I like to add, and this is for Mr. Graybill too, is specifically, and that is that keep in mind that there could be some legislative proposals that could come up that would request for the Planning Commission to dive into, to do some work that is not in the plan, in the on their schedule. And I foresee at least one coming up. So as you think about, the work schedule, please allow for some leeway for things that could come up that would be council directed. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Councilmember Keel.
Thank you, Mayor. Mrs. Swindell, thank you for your report and all of your hard work over the years. And I will wait till April to do that other thing
Okay.
as well. Mr. Graybill, I want to thank your commission for the work you've done last year as well as this year. I mean, the part around form-based code and all of the things. I mean, going into this, I had a lot of questions, And staff and the commission answered a lot of those questions. And now what I'm seeing after a year of being implemented and what's happened at the north, I call it Four Corners, but northeast area and other areas, I think really bodes well to what you all had said it would do. And I'm very much appreciative of that. I think it's something that's made it a lot easier for developers to understand what we're talking about. And we've got a lot of consistency throughout our city. I'm very excited. I'm very hopeful, and I'm very optimistic about all of the planning that I see happening in our city. And with form-based code and with the work that we've laid out, I think, we're going to add to the envy of having a Whole Foods and a Trader Joe's within a mile of each other. We're going to add to that. And I just want to just say thank you for all the citizens that are volunteering their time on the Planning Commission. And since we're talking about Planning Commission now, and the work that you've done to make this happen, I think it's going to be phenomenal what we see over the years and what we'll see in the many, many years to come in our city. So thank you for that. Now, having said that, I want to underscore what Councilman Figueroa says, is that we as a council, we are going to be responding to some things that come up, and we are going to need some help, just like you said, that we may need some feedback or something right away. So if you can stay nimble when that happens and not think that we don't know what we're doing, we're responding to what's in front of us and trying to take some advantage of some things that are going to be coming up. So yeah. So thank you again. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wood.
Yes, thank you both for being here to present this today. And I just have a quick question, specifically on the Housing Action Toolkit portion. You've allocated 3 months at the end of 22 to address what looks like to me like quite a bit of stuff in the Housing Action Toolkit. Do you anticipate this rolling into your 23 plan, or do you think you can actually get this done in 22?
That's very possible running into 23. We don't actually want to try and tackle all the actions within the Housing Action Toolkit. There are some low-hanging fruit that should be fairly easy to go through the commission and then take on maybe some more controversial or other actions in the future. So we don't anticipate doing all the actions, but just looking at some that should be easier, if you would. I am a little bit hesitant to involve the Planning Commission too much in 2023 with the Housing Action Toolkit, because by the middle of 2024, you're going to have a comprehensive plan update completed, and that's a big job. So when you tackle that, it's going to be at least close to a 2-year job.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Mr. Graybill. Please send our congratulations from City Council on the job that you've done thus far, and we look forward to seeing your work product into next year. So you guys have a heavy-duty lift.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Yeah. Go Hawks. All right, well, thank you. Our next commission work plan is for the Economic Development Advisory Commission with Chair Michael Gruner and staff person Becky Metcalf. Can you please both come on with your cameras? Well, welcome this evening, Mr. Gruner and Ms. Metcalf. Who will be presenting the work plan this evening?
I believe Michael will be.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Gruner. I believe you are muted, sir. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Okay, it looks like Ms. Metcalf will be presenting the work plan this evening.
Okay, thank you. Well, you have the work plan in your packets, and as always, our work plans are basically hooked to council goals. We are still working off of council goals from 2019, 2020. And so you'll see a fairly similar work plan to what we had the last couple of years. Very important for us to keep our commissioners involved with and familiar with our UP business community. And so we encourage them to attend events that we facilitate. In addition, we've begun bringing a business owner to each of the EDC meetings for the commission to get to know them a little bit better and have a chance to talk with them. A new item that we're adding is a review of the fourth quarter 2021 business survey that we just completed mid-November. I'm spending some time to address those opportunities that we identified. And then a lot of our work plan, as has been in the past, is tied to what the Planning Commission does. That's planning and economic development is a really important partnership. And so we have a commissioner from the Planning Commission who acts as a liaison to the EDC and attends those meetings and keeps us up to date as to what's going on in the Planning Commission. And so we've included in our work plan to monitor for the Northeast Business District. And so there have been times when EDC commissioners have been asked to attend those Planning Commission meetings, and we intend to be as involved as there's desire to be in both of those projects.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation, and I'm sorry, Mr. Gruner, that we're having some technical issues. Are there any council comments or questions? Councilmember Keel.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Becky, thank you for your presentation, and Mr. Gruner, thank you for being here. I'm for about 8 or 9 months, I've really been musing, and I'm glad, Becky, you talked about the partnership and the connection between Planning Commission and Economic Development Commission, because that certainly is a key thing, and I've seen that. And over the last few months, I've really been musing about how do we really kickstart the economic development piece of what we're doing with planning, right? I mean, so we've got all these plans and form-based code and we've got these people coming in, and a lot of them are mixed-use buildings where you got residential on top and commercial on the bottom, and I'm just wondering, is there some synergy what the EDC can do to help the city and the Planning Commission and all of us really begin to reach out to businesses, to market to business, to do the things that we need. I mean, these are business people already in our city. I'm sure they've got connections, with other businesses, talking about why they're in UP, how the benefits are of being in UP, and all those kind of things like that. I mean, over the years, I've heard a lot of the why not to be in UP, from some businesses, and a lot of that information is disinformation, in my opinion, right? Where they talk about, oh, the costs are so high. Well, those costs a lot of times aren't city costs; they're like county costs, and so there's a lot of there's some disinformation, again, according to my opinion. And so I'm just wondering now, using out loud, is there something that the EDC can do with planning to talk about how we attract business to do? And you're probably doing a lot of that stuff now, but I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can amp up that game. So, I mean, I have an answer now, but over time and into the next year, I'll ask it again and kind of keep kicking it around to see if there's anything if there's any there, right?
Thank you, Councilmember Keel. We'll take that under advisement.
Okay, Councilmember McCluskey.
Thank you, Mayor Belisi. And Thank you, Mr. Gruner, for taking up the volunteer charge of the Economic Development Commission, and Ms. Metcalf for all of your hard work in the past years and up to date. Economic development is really strategic throughout our regional growth center, especially, as you know. And part of it is that our numbers in the economic factors are a little low, so we need to focus on that to see how we can uptick it. One of those things that have been in the back of my mind are some of the home-based businesses. How can we encourage a successful home-based business to actually open up a storefront? And there's a lot of issues why they don't want to. It could be a fear factor. It also could be basically it's not as expensive to do that. But some of the things that I'm hearing, and you probably are already aware of it, is the landlords and their rents are not sometimes competitive. And so working not only with our businesses, but also the potential landlords that we have out there, especially on the vacancies to some of their properties. I'm sure they would like to fill it, maybe they'd rather have it vacant and just keep the square footage, higher for the rent. I'm not sure, but I would like to understand a little more in regards to that. So if the Economic Development Commission could provide some feedback for me to fill in my, information gap, I would appreciate that. The other part to it, as we're doing the economic development, I've been reading several different articles, and for economic development is also a wellness factor. The health and wellness and the livability, and looking at our citizens and how they shop and what brings them out to shop in University Place, rather than going on to Amazon or things of that nature. What are the ancillary businesses that we can encourage so that we have more shoppers going out, and we have that vitality of business that the business thrives on. Some of those things. I have these visionary concepts of both Narrows as well as the 27th business district on how we can make that pop. And my vision, sometimes when you're visionary, you're not based sometimes in reality. So I would like to become more reality based as to what would actually mesh and work. And I'm really excited that the 27th business corridor, they are starting to have a little more energy and getting a little more enthusiastic. I go, that is really exciting and hopeful, and they keep that spark going, so that they become a strong organization and a supporter and advocate for the businesses along that corridor as well. So those are some of the things that are in the back of my mind, and also how the form-based code is working out with the economic development vitality, and to hear the Economic Development Commission's feedback on that. Because after all, when you put out a new code, especially of that magnitude, I call it the pilot project to see how it works out in reality. And as we tweak it along to make it become, UP-ish and establish the end goals that we had intended it to. So thank you all for your hard work.
Councilmember Figueroa.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Michael, for being part of the commission and doing all this work. And please pass it on to the other commissioners, that we as council, that we may not see each other and talk with each other much. We do, I know I can speak for myself, but knowing the rest of the council members as long as I have, I think that we all can say that we really understand the commitment, the time commitment, and the energy that goes into being part of our community. Thank you. My comment is somewhat in line with what Councilmember Keel and Councilmember McCluskey said, but in a different way, and that is, as you know, the process is that we pass, you have a work plan, we approve it. We also may come out with a resolution for you, for the commission to do some extra work. But I think that we've said this before, but I don't want to lose it. And that's what I think Councilmember McCluskey was really it was saying is that there's opportunities. And this is where we'll rely on our community members, such as our commissioners who are charged as commissioners and leaders of our community. And the area of economic development is to keep your eyes and ears open for opportunities that we as council members may not see or hear about. And though you're not exactly free to just go and add whatever and have staff work with you on that, it is very much encouraged that if you as a commission member or a commission as a whole come together and say, this is an opportunity that we see that hasn't been discussed with the council or staff. Let's introduce it to staff and see what they think. And then to the point where I don't want things that just you stick it, you throw it against the wall and see what sticks and bring it to the council. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying though is some thought out, visionary thoughts, opportunities that may lie there, and I'm encouraging you to work with staff to bring it to council for us to study, to see if we pass a resolution to say, yes, this is a great opportunity for us to spend more resources, staff or money or otherwise. I really do encourage that because we're going to need it for retention, for everything. We're already getting developments that are not putting in commercial on the first floor like we wish to create revenue. Remember, this is a smart community that depends on revenue. And if we don't create revenue, then we rely on taxation to provide the services. So when we have major developments go up and no retail, commercial on the first floor, then we lost an opportunity. So we have to stop that mentality and see, but we need to also understand what the market is saying to us. But we need to really be thinking outside the box, all of us, staff, council, and our commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, council. It sounds like on our retreat on January 22nd, there will be a lot of discussion about economic development, and potentially there will be some resolutions and ordinances that we will be sending to you to add to your work schedule next year. So be alerted to that. Thank you again, Michael, and please do thank your commission for all their hard work and having their ears to the ground, helping me understand. Oh, I didn't even see our newest council member, Councilmember Wood, please.
You're muted.
Okay. I just had a couple of quick comments. Again, I'll echo thank you both for being here, Michael and Becky. First comment is when you're looking at, and I think it fits best in your second line item there, identifying potential opportunities. I would encourage you to really look at also the types of business we're bringing to this community. And I mention this specifically because when I was out talking with a lot of UP citizens, I heard numerous times people were interested in more opportunities for shopping and for dining. And I would like us to find ways to encourage those types of businesses to take more of those businesses to take root in our community. And that's just when you're looking at opportunities, I'd like to see something we could do there. Second thing I would also encourage you to do at some point over the course of next year is link up with the Public Safety Commission, because since there have been updates to the regional growth or regional sub-area plan, they should probably hear that so they can use the latest information in developing long-range public safety planning options. So if there's a time when the two commissions can get together, either through a joint meeting or through a briefing or something like that, I think would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wood. I apologize. You'll need to throw something at me in the future, I think. get my attention. With that, I don't see any other hands raised from any of our council members with comments. So again, thank you very much, and please do thank your commission for their hard work and effort. And we look forward to a productive 2022 as we move out of this pandemic. So thank you, Michael, for coming this evening. Our next commission is our Park Advisory Commission, and Chair Kelly Forsberg and staff Tony West, can you please come on screen?
Hi, good evening, Mayor Bellisi, and thank you, council member. Park Advisory, a hearty welcome to Ed Wood. Thanks so much and congratulations. We do want to discuss for the Park Advisory Commission that we did have a successful year completing our 2021 goals, which included the review of Resolution 907, which was the banning of vaping and drones and smoking in UP parks. We did some good work there to pass our findings and recommendations on to you, so I think you should have that. We met the goal of reviewing and partnering with the presentation from Gglo consultant group on the draft plan for the Homestead Park. And we've also reviewed the consultant white paper for UP park restrooms. So that was our 2021 plans that we've met, and you should have the proposed 2022 work plan and goals in your packet. And I just want to walk you through a couple of the goals on that, if we can get that up on screen. Thank you, Amanda. So our 2022 goals, we'll start off with number 1, which is to review the Cirque Park master plan and provide any findings that don't align with citizen comments or the pros plan or some of the good work that's been done out there in surveys. Provide those findings and recommendations to you, to City Council. Our second goal would be continue the restroom at UP Parks discussions, specifically to the current Apple Orchard Park as requested by the core group, and provide our findings to City Council and also our recommendations. And PAC goal 2, if you scroll down on the document just a little bit, some of the recommended marketing strategies to promote UP Parks are included in there. So a lot of the things that we've noted, we've had some new commissioners join the Park Advisory Commission this year, and we took the new ones on a tour of the parks, and we noted that there's a lot of signage that we think needs to be updated. So we are looking at adding that, we think that would be to continue discussions as needed or requested by you at City Council. So with that, that's just my very brief presentation of our work. I'm here to answer your questions, and also with the support of Tony West and Gary Cooper, thanks so much for everything they've done to help the Park Advisory Commission out this year. Thank you for your continued support of University Place Parks.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Forsberg. Appreciate your report out. Councilmember McCluskey, do you have brief comments and questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Kelly, for your awesome presentation and your hard work. Because you did some heavy lifting, especially in the Homestead Park Master Site Plan and updates there. And thank you for all your work too, Mr. West, throughout the years. And I like the recommendation of the splash park at Cirque. I think a signature feature there at our only regional park is really essential and important to make it something that will be a destination stop. And considering something also that would be an all-around stop, so when the playground structure is expanded or anything, there's something really unique and amazing with that. I've been to some parks that, they've created play structures as, a castle or a ship or things of that nature, something that will create a focal point. Like at Sunset Terrace, that is, according to the UP kids, our school district, that is a signature park, and it's because of the zip line, and they call it the zip line park. So no longer Sunset Terrace. So, but something of that, that's highly elevated like that. You get my drift with that. And the other, I drive by almost daily 27th and Elwood. And I look at that little area there, and when it rains pretty hard, it looks like the UP swimming hole. And that just totally bugs me. I just want something there that, whether it's a pickleball court or something that's ancillary that will complement whatever's going on at that UP primary, but something there that we can be proud of. I know it's a little itty pocket park, you can do, some courts and a nice little bench area, just for, just to take a time out for the walkers, just to kind of relax from their stroll. But whatever it is, you guys are a very creative group. I would like to hear some ideas, and it probably wouldn't take a whole lot of funding, I don't think. So maybe forward some ideas in regards to that. And also to look at the parks and to see where you can encourage more people from usage, like where can we put, additional program shelters, and, what's the best use of the program shelters? How can we establish a system where, it's no longer first come, first serve, people can reserve it so that we will have a higher ratio of turnover when we have the best months out of the year, the summer and fall months, because I've been to parks and people just camp out all day long and no one else gets to use it. And, sometimes they come in, like Kobayashi, a big, huge group, and then no one else uses that area. And I don't think that's fair or right for the other citizens who are interested in using it. I think we should look at it as a retail space and see how we can turn it over and get the best use and the most use for those areas in our parks. And so, and I think I have some others on my list, but you guys have a full course coming into 2022. And so I'll just circle back on that 27th and Elwood at a later time. But thank you all for your really hard work and your creative input. It's really appreciated, and your passion for our parks too, because, schools may claim that that's why people move into the community, but I think our parks is why they stay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember McCluskey. As a reminder, any items that are forwarded to our commissions have to be done through a legislative proposal and a formal ordinance from us. So I'm sure coming on our retreat in January, we will have a whole slew of them going out to our commission members. Councilmember Keel, followed by Councilmember Figueroa.
Great. Thank you, Mayor. And I appreciate you giving us that reminder, because that was kind of like what was in my head too. And my comments have always centered around, this is what I'm thinking, trying to set up for what might be coming from me in January when we do the resolution piece. And Councilmember McCluskey, you definitely laid out the gauntlet about the schools versus the parks. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah. So, and thank you, Ms. Warburg, for your presentation. I thought it was very, very informative. I really enjoyed the goals, and I agree with the ones that are there and all about that. The question I have about the goals is just digging down a little bit more into like the action plans, and I know that there are some that were there, but I still have some more questions about them, but I want to read more about that and then just kind of formulate, my thoughts. and that's around taking the goals and actually, bringing them to action. And probably the biggest thing that that I've questioned around is how does the Park Commission work with the council around the funding cycles, right? So I mean, when it comes to parks and a lot of things we do and the things that we want to do, it's all about the money, at least in my mind, because a lot of things that were on that list, and the list is long, we haven't done because we don't have the money, and so just how the Park Commission is really thinking through that and how you kind of match up the work that you're doing and then the funding cycles. And I'm hoping you're looking at all the funding cycles that are out there. Stuff that comes from the state, stuff that may be coming, I don't know, there may be something coming from the infrastructure bill for all I know, the trillions of dollars that we just got. I don't know, and so I just want to kind of open that up a little bit more and not necessarily look at just the local, the region, but really open that up and maybe look at even national kind of things that may be happening that that we can get into. So that's one thing. The other thing that I was thinking about too is that we have a lot of other facilities that are around people getting out and doing things. I think about our sidewalks that we're putting in all over the place. I mean, it's not necessarily a park per se, but it is an activity. Right? Because, parks are all about activity, getting out and family and doing things. And so I think about, those miles of sidewalk that we have. I think about those miles of bike lane that we have. And again, I'm just thinking out loud, right? Are there things that Park Commission, because it's very much related, that you can, as we talk about pickleball courts and volleyball places and things like that. I mean, there's the bicycles and there's the walking and all that stuff that kind of fit in together. And I'm just thinking out loud, or is there a nexus there with that kind of stuff that we can actually continue to promote within our city? We're doing it, but having the muscle of the Parks Commission may be another thing that could be very helpful. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I do intend to think that through a little bit more and work with council as we come up with what we're going to pass for you guys to work on next year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Keel. Councilmember Figueroa, followed by Councilmember Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. Kelly, again, like all of us, we really appreciate your work and the commission's work. We don't take it lightly, and there's so much to be done that there's not enough. Like Councilmember Keel said, there's not enough money, and I don't think there's enough manpower to do everything we want to do. But certainly, we do a little bit every year, and it just adds up. My major comment, or the only comment I really do have, there's so many comments, but we'll deal with it at our council retreat. But you mentioned marketing and the signs, better signs. I thought that was quite interesting because we talked about signs in many different other ways. Signage around the city, just saying "Welcome to UP," for example, or I've been trying to get a sign that says we have a town center and what's there. And it takes us sometimes forever to get around to better signage to let people know as they come into UP what's in UP. But in zooming into parks, I think I do believe that you're correct that we need to update our signage but also about how we sign them. You think about the signage at a particular park, but I like the thought that what Councilmember Keel just mentioned. I never thought about it, and thank you, Kent. And that is the sidewalks. And I was putting those two together. It says, well, it would be nice to have signage along our major arterials that have sidewalks that says, if you just go one more mile, you'll land at Cirque Park. If you go a half more mile, you land at Homestead Park. I'm just making this up, but better signage to let people know that around the corner, there's a park for them to enjoy. Again, those are just thoughts, but as my question to you now, after I said all that, is other than mentioning that there should be better signage or updating our signage, are you recommending, is the commission going to be working on the types of upgrade or type of signage is being recommended, or do you need more follow-up from the council instructing? So, I mean, what's the next step? I want to dig deeper in that arena.
I'm really glad you've asked. And I think what we were talking about is there's one park in particular over by the one of the schools, and it's a trail park, and there's these trails that go all over the park, and we think it's so great once you walk through the trails that they actually kind of lead to one side of the school and then come out into a neighborhood. And if you aren't aware of where the trails are going, well, I'm just going to stop here, and then they don't explore the whole other side of the park. So I think there's a lot missing out, and it's still a park we have to maintain with park money and park staff funds. So I think that having some signage like here's the trail, you are here on the trail, and if you go over here on this trail, this is where it will lead to. So we're thinking about things like that. We're also thinking about the point that you brought up of one park, a mile ahead, or I think that would be a fantastic idea to add that so that people are just aware of where to go, because I don't think a lot of them are really aware a lot of what is being offered. There was one park over by the Lakewood Golf Course that a lot of people have no idea that park is there. I've lived here for 7 years. I had no idea it was there until it was introduced to me. Other park commissioners that have lived here for 15 plus years had no idea that it was there. And I guess there's some good reasons why you wouldn't want to advertise that, hey, there's a park back here in this neighborhood, because it's not really developed. So maybe you don't want to add a lot of signage there, but I think that it's neat to at least, let the community know, hey, we do have this park area, you should go visit it. So those are the sort of park signages I would like to see. I think we have a lot of good entrance signage, like at Cirque Park or Reconnosciuto. There's some great looking signs that are right there in the park, but not a lot to tell what the park has to offer. Like Reconnosciuto has an area where you can also walk some little trails behind Cirque Park. So I think that would be neat to feature that in a sign. I guess we would need a little more direction or resolution, if that's what you call it, from council on how to develop this a little bit more, because I think it would be a great plan to implement so that we can get that signage out there.
So what I'm saying, Kelly, is that I think that we need an ask from the commission on your recommendation of better signage.
Okay.
What is it that you're saying that you need from us in order for us to study and then give better direction?
I think what is permitted, or I guess what would council like to see, that's kind of what we would need direction on. So we would want to make sure that if we're providing recommendations to council, that it's things that we're not having a lot of going back and forth of, well, we're not sure what's permitted, or if there's a specific vision in mind on signage that we should be following. I guess those are the things we need to know.
Well, there is a formal process by which you can
Right.
provide us with ideas, and then the council would review it and confirm it through an ordinance or resolution, and add it to your work plan. So study it, and if you get 2 or more commissioners to come on board with it, then it gets forwarded to council for our consideration.
Okay.
We are running short on time here, and we do have a very extensive agenda this evening. So, Councilmember Figueroa, are you done with your comments?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Wood.
So in the interest of time, I'll go down to just 1 or 2 comments. Though the parks is fascinating. Key thing I would like to look at as you start developing these site plans and the intended, and you look at increased usage, hopefully, for some of these parks, that we look at some of the basic considerations like parking and other safety issues. Just some of our parks, obviously Kobayashi is the one that comes to mind, have very limited parking, and also like a one-way road that goes up and down to it. It seems to me that there's a potential safety considerations there that we should look at least with improved signage or something, so that we don't have people trying to roll down that hill while others are going up, things like that. And that I think would apply to all parks as we increase their use. We just take a look at the support. And that's when you're talking park signs, that's what came to my mind is better signage for safety. And then the other thing I'll just mention, I really am intrigued by Councilmember Keel's idea of integrating with bike lanes and sidewalks and parks. I think there's something we can do there that I think would be very fun. So thank you. That's all I have.
Well, Kelly and Tony, thank you so much for coming and presenting your work plan. It does sound like our January 22nd retreat is going to be full of a lot of initiatives and ideas, and hopefully we will have some more resolutions and ordinances to send to you to add to your work plan. So as we come out of COVID, it looks like we will reinvigorate our commissions from the sound of the discussion thus far and really have some robust plans to look forward to for 2022. So thank you both for coming on this evening. Appreciate it. Our next and final commission is our Public Safety Advisory Commission. May I have the chair, Amy Booth, and Jennifer Hales, our staff person, come on camera and provide the work plans. Well, Amy, thank you for coming into chamber. I appreciate having an audience here and having some members of the public. So thank you.
You have the work plan.
Please bring the mic forward as close to you as possible so everybody can hear it.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You have the work plan. I assume everyone has
Yes,
that?
it's
Okay, perfect.
on.
In order for time, we will, I'll just highlight, thank you for the council. Our number one goal is still to work with the council to improve safety in University Place. Traffic safety is a big one. Increase officers in UP and maintain the safety in University Place. We have added to the 2022 work plan to connect with community organizations such as United for University Place, Tacoma Safe, and others in addition. And I think that's it. Any questions?
Okay, any council comments or questions at this time? Council Member Wood.
Okay, I'm on now. First, I'd like to say thank you for being here, and I am very happy to leave the commission in very good hands. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to comment a little bit on the outreach particular, because I think that's something important that we haven't done in the past, is that we're starting to get the Public Safety Commission engaging with other public safety-minded organizations, or at least have as part of their concerns in the community.
Yes.
And I think that will provide valuable feedback for our council as to things we can do going forward. And so I appreciate that. And then, of course, I think you have it in your plan here already, integrating with some of the other commissions to stay updated on what else is happening in the city, because that will have a long-term effect on how public safety will look in this community going forward. And so, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking on the chair. And I'm glad. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm actually really looking forward to working with the Economic Development Commission as well as the parks.
Excellent. Okay, Council Member Keel, you had a brief comment or question?
Yeah, comment and question. I hope to make it brief. Amy, it's so nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
And I'm glad that you are working on this commission. As Councilmember Wood said, I think it's in good hands as far as the chairmanship, and I appreciate your work there. There's so many things though on this topic that is just swirling in my head, and I'm going to talk about a few things, but I really, between now and our retreat, this is where I'm going to spend a lot of my time. I mean, I'm interested in all the commissions, but this is the big one for me because of what we hear from the community and from what we know around our public safety that we offer in our city, around, officers and not only officers. And every time I say officers, the chief always says, "Well, it's not all about officers." I get that, but it's a big part of it. Okay, so and there are other things, and so there's just a swirl. I'm kind of rambling, but I'm really interested in how the commission, with all of the stuff that just happened, that the legislature just passed around, these new laws, and how that's impacting, and I know that's something that the legislature and other groups are going to vet and figure out, and we will, when it comes to our city, we'll just kind of respond and react to what they're working on. But there are some things, though, that I know that we need to do, like the officers. And I keep coming back to that. I mean, maybe it's not a person with a badge and a weapon. Maybe it's enhanced cohort enforcers. Enforcement officers that don't have a weapon that can go out and deal with different kinds of calls that don't require a weapon and a badge, that kind of thing. So I'm very, very curious if the commission is even thinking about that kind of stuff, right? Of how, we can bolster up public safety and the different kinds of flavors and things that we can do and work with in order to bring about improvement. And so it's a ramble. I promise that I'll have more clarity and more succinctness when we talk as a council, but those are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about now.
Those are great discussions. We've had lots of communication around that with the chief, with the fire department, and the school district around what that would look like.
Okay. All right. Well, great. I like I said before, I see the goals. I'd love to see the work plan, details of the work plan underneath, so that kind of helps inform how we get to those goals. So looking forward to working with you guys.
Councilmember Figueroa, do you have brief comments?
Thank you, Mayor. I will keep it brief for you. Amy, the one comment I do have is the National Night Out event that we have once a year. I think it's an excellent opportunity for public safety, communication, marketing, however you want to call it, with our communities and our neighborhoods, more so than any other commission that we have. And yet, public safety commissioners don't get involved with our National Night Out. I would really encourage this commission, you, to join us on a National Night Out and work with Jennifer Hill on how to take advantage of this opportunity that we're out there with firemen and police, which represents public safety, along with our commissioners, and the real opportunity to be face-to-face with a lot of families and communities and neighborhoods and talk to them and potentially provide them with information and on something so important. I really encourage you to do this. I encourage the commission to do so, and that's my comment. Thank you.
I think that's a great idea.
Thank you, Councilmember.
It's not an idea, it's really a recommendation.
Yeah. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember McCluskey, do you have a brief comment, as we are well behind on our current agenda? Or we stay late.
Yes, Mayor Bellici. All right, thank you, Kelly and Jennifer, for all your hard work and putting all this together. I would, going forward, like to see some details kind of coming out of this action plan that you have presented for council. And some of the details that I would like to see is, as you know, the Pierce County passed their behavioral health tax.
Yes.
So there's going to be millions of dollars coming in supporting that, to see how University Place can tap into that, especially in regards to behavioral health issues, homelessness, And I really like that you stated that you're partnering with our fire department and our public schools that I have not heard for a while, and that makes me a lot more hopeful that we're going to have that collaboration. As you know, the fire department has what they call coordinated care, where, you know, with our tax dollars, has hired someone that is more health oriented, medical field professional. And so to also work in collaboration with that agency as you help, Gesundheit, as you help the council establish legislative policies in order to improve our citizens' lifestyles, especially in regards to those that are at need or need assistance at different times of their lives. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Amy, I want to thank you. Your commission of all has really been impacted by COVID, I think the hardest, because a lot of your goals and objectives for the last 2 years involve getting out and talking with the community, which we were unable to do. So I am hoping, I'm ever hopeful that we will get our sanity back, and that 2022 offers that opportunity to have that public engagement, because I think talking about an issue as important as public safety needs to be done on a face-to-face basis, and for us to gain an understanding of how our public perceives public safety and what their desires are towards reaching what they feel is good public safety for University Place. And that will then inform us as we move forward to looking at how our police looks, the contract looks, what it means in the future with all the legislation coming forward. So you guys have a big lift next year, hopefully, if we have the opportunity to get together. But I do encourage you to let your commission members know about the National Night Out, and if we do have it in 2022, to make an effort to come join us on that event,
I think that would be
where we
great.
can get out into the communities more. So I want to thank all our commission members, and do acknowledge that your last 2 years as commission members have been really impacted by what has gone on in the last couple of years with COVID, and being able to reach the goals that we set out as council. But it sounds like our council will have even more goals to add to your 2022 work schedules if our retreat is successful in January. So look forward to that, and adding that onto your already extensive list.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for coming in person, Amy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So with that, we're on to our next item, which is our GGLO update on Homestead Park. We have looked at this repeatedly over this last year. We're getting an update with that, so I would bring Mr. Gary Cooper forward to introduce our guest speakers on this study session.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Tonight we're here to give one more update on GGLO's progress on the Homestead Park project design. I know Mr. Mark Swindell and Philip Decker have taken all the comments from Public Park Commission and Council and edited them down, and the presentation tonight, we hope, includes at least a little bit of what everybody wants. We know we can't do everything of everybody wants, but with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Swindell and Mr. Decker.
All right, thanks, Gary. Phil, you want to bring up the presentation, and just quick introductions for you. It's been a little while. Mark Swindell, principal of GGLO, and with me is Phil. Go ahead, Phil.
Excellent. Yes, great to meet everyone. Just wanted to double check here. Mark, can you see the screen?
Yep, I think we're all good. Council, Mayor, can you see everything okay?
Yep. See it fine.
All right. Okay, Phil, if you want to go to the next slide. So Mayor, Council, we're here tonight presenting, reviewing, and hopefully looking for approval of the Homestead Park design. And you see in the screen back steps of the timeline, as the mayor indicated, over the past year, we've received a lot of quality input from you, the Parks Advisory Commission, and the public. So that leads us to today, the council meeting in black and bold down there. And then if we get approval today, the next steps are construction documents, permitting, and moving on to bidding and construction. So we're just going to recap the goals that we went through with you and you helped develop. Stimulate economic development, refine the Homestead Park to be cohesive with overall town center, including City Hall and Lot 1. We'll talk about that a little bit more briefly here. Activate Homestead Park as a year-round community event space. Update Homestead Park to meet current community needs, safety, sustainability, and design standards. Apply CPTED or crime prevention through environmental design standards for safe, secure use of Homestead Park. And protect and enhance the historical character of Homestead Park, which is really that character relates to those big, beautiful existing trees, the rhododendrons, and the unique Pacific Northwest feel of a park like this in a downtown. So to that end, when we started this, the image on the left shows the initial concept of a promenade that would link City Hall, Market Square, Lot 1, Homestead Park, and future development to the south in a system for downtown that would promote events and really help expand downtown in a cohesive way and bring Homestead Park into the fold of downtown a little bit more clearly. And then on the right, you see a programming diagram that we did with you. And the initial program included that promenade that you see there with gateways on either ends, event spaces, play spaces, trail and walkway enhancements. And so that's somewhat where we left off. And since then, we've been developing and putting form and detail to the design. So if we go to the next slide. So just a reminder of the findings with the online surveys, public workshops, and council comments from you. So there's a lot about value for the natural areas, natural feel, the forest, the rhododendrons, the green space, the walking trails, and a lot of emphasis and comments about protecting the trees. Safety was a big thing, creating sight lines and bringing in lighting. Improvements all the way around, including seating, playground, potentially a restroom and other enhancements. And then, as we talked about before, a desire to upgrade the park so that it was available and programmed and set up with infrastructure for events, including potentially farmers market, live music, holiday lighting, and other things. All right, so that brings us to current. Let's jump to the next slide and talk a little bit about design. So in developing the program into a design and a place, that requires giving it form. To that end, after reviewing all the comments and feedback, we really focused on the natural characteristics of the park in this urban setting, the trees and the natural patterns. And that really was what we used to inspire the forms and the layout of spaces and the development of the details. If we go to the next slide, as we get into that, now you can see the promenade alignment we talked about. And one of the things we're really pleased that we were able to do after getting the tree survey and jumping into this a little bit more, we were able to take that alignment, keep it through Marketplace West, Lot 1, out to the middle of the future development parcel and through Homestead Park, without actually, by just tweaking it and jogging a little bit, without having to remove that many existing trees. So we're able to really follow some of the thoughts and comments we had from you all about preservation of existing trees and able to balance this and limit the necessary removal of the trees while meeting all the goals for safety and sight lines. So we're pretty happy about that, and we'll show you more detail in a second here. I think we can go to the next slide. So this brings us to the park and the overall spaces. So I'll talk about this a little bit and then turn it over to Phil to get into details. So here now you see gateways marking the entry to the park from lot 1 and down through to the south. The promenade, which is a wide, generous, well-lit, paved walkway that is wide enough to get a police car to come through if necessary. And then off of that, you see the event lawn and event pavilion to the left. Down and to the right is the meadow, which is an expansion area for events. We have a large play space. You see those faded green blobs with the white dots? Those are the existing trees. And then there are some new trees that we're bringing in to frame the space around the perimeter and formalize things a little bit. Back to that idea of bringing it into keeping of character with the downtown while balancing the native character. And then you see a series of gardens. So there's the rhododendron garden, the woodland garden, the memorial garden. That was another thing with the alignment. We're able to preserve that. And then we talked before about community spaces for smaller groups, 4 to 6 people to sit and hang out. And those became the Grove, one in the rhododendron garden, and then the fern glen down at the right. And then, of course, we have walkways that link it all together. So that's the broad overview of that. I'm going to turn it over to Phil to get into some of the details on the design.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. As Mark mentioned, we took all that great information that we received from the Parks Commission, City Council, and put those in those organizing spaces. And I'm going to take the next few minutes and just go a little deeper into each one of those spaces. And then the next few slides after that will start to unveil the details of that through photos. As Mark mentioned, we have the promenade that starts up at the gateway at the top and moves through as the spine of the park and continues with another gateway. As Mark mentioned, the promenade moves and meanders around the existing trees as much as possible to try to maintain, as we heard through a lot of the public involvement process that the trees and rhododendrons. So we mapped out where those trees are, where the groupings were. The promenade comprises of precast pavers, fixed seating, lighting, and it provides an area in which sight lines for safety in there. And we'll, like I said, we'll show some of those images of those items in just a few minutes. The area to the north has the pavilion and the event lawn space. So that sits right along the promenade itself, and that's coupled with the meadow down to the other side, more towards the south. And those two areas allow for flexibility to be used as flexible event spaces along the promenade. Just next to the meadow is the playground, and we'll show you the new improvements and the expansion of that, which we've heard was a desire from the community. As Mark mentioned, we have these smaller breakout areas, and those are all connected through a series of walkways. We have secondary walkways and tertiary walkways, and the secondary walkways are enhanced with woodland planting, which is a series of native and adaptive native plants and bollard illuminated lights. Through this involvement, we were involved with working with Dr. Gary Becker, and one of the things that he discussed with us from the very beginning was the amount of rhododendrons that are and the importance of the rhododendrons that are in the park and how to actually contribute to that. So that's a lot of the plantings that we'll contribute to, but also the removal of trees will actually help the rhododendrons bloom more and stay a little bit more compact. A lot of the rhododendrons right now are getting very leggy and causing a lot of the issues with sightlines and safety. I want to briefly talk about the existing vegetation that's out there. The trees, there are roughly 230 trees that are out there. Through this process, we'll show you in a few minutes, we're looking to remove out 25 trees, but we're actually proposing to enhance the amount of trees that are out there with a variety of native and adaptive native trees that are deciduous trees. So we're adding interest, a layer of interest, they're flowering trees. They're also a little bit smaller. And so they're not your, predominantly of those trees that are out there are dense Douglas firs. The rhododendrons, there's just under 900 rhododendrons out there. We are looking to transplant and move 75 of those roughly, and proposing to plant 200 rhododendrons. That would be the compact variety, and we'll show you images of those. So the idea is, in the long run, it'll be a little bit more open park. It'll have a lot more light that comes down into these spaces. And then the rhododendrons will be compact to help support those visual sightlines that we're opening up, but enhance the amount of planting that we're doing there and support that northwest feel that we've heard that was very important. And then in the long run will really help maintenance, so they're not having to do as much pruning to some of that vegetation that starts to get overgrown.
Yeah, just a couple of quick comments on that. So we actually have a net gain in both trees and rhododendrons. We're really proud of that. And then Gary has been very responsibly telling us, make sure we're paying attention to maintenance and longevity and durability throughout the process. So all of the little decisions we're talking about, we're always vetted with the idea of maintenance, durability, and longevity and cost.
Exactly. Here's just an example real quick of viewing from the north into the park. There's some sight lines into the playground area that's existing, but over to the right, you see this is an area that we propose to open up and allow views into the center of the park where the event space will be. There's a natural area in which it actually creates a natural amphitheater and open space in there. And one of the, here's another example of coming off of from the west, entering into the park and opening up the views into the park, into that central space. These are the trees that we've identified right at this point for to allow for the improvements, and then also to allow or to open up some of the space as we discussed working with Dr. Gary Becker. He said if we removed about a third to half of the trees, he would be actually on board with that, which we knew was, you know, not going to go over very well. But he did comment though that by removing and thinning the canopy, it would actually help the rhododendrons quite a bit. So one of the things that we do want to note here too is that some of the trees that we're proposing to remove would be used on site for habitat trees and for nurse logs. And so it really kind of goes to that enhancement of the character and feel of Homestead Park. Regarding the promenade, we talked about how that kind of moves around the existing trees and is that central spine through the park. I mentioned the precast pavers, and we worked with Gary's team, you know, very closely to identify what's the most appropriate materials. And we looked at precast concrete pavers for several different reasons. One, it's easier on a weekly basis to maintain, but also longevity of the precast concrete pavers because of the root systems and it has a you can replace them and move them, and it has more of a flexible paving system than it would be of concrete. And we think that with the amount of trees and root systems that were out there, we would have an issue in the long run with some of the concrete. So some of the seating along the promenade is fixed seating, and in many cases it's along gravel. In other cases it's along that precast paver. And so we've identified these as fixed seating opportunities for people to be at. And then the paving itself that we've selected is a skateboard deterrent, but in other areas where we do have the precast pavers, we have, it's easily, the design we've selected doesn't allow for skating as much, but then you can also put skate deterrents on it. One of the items we discussed was the safety at night too, along the promenade. And this is one of the light fixtures that we're considering. It'd be something in that design realm. The paving itself, we see those precast pavers having a variety of cover colors and textures to add interest, and then also layering that in with a sandblast treatment over the top of it to help create even a third level of interest to it, to really kind of help support that initial design concept of the woodland garden and that creativity. The events, we heard through the public process that events were very important, and we see the promenade being, you know, not only very wide and open and having the lighting along there, but the purpose of having it wide is that vehicular traffic can come in, set up for events in along the promenade, and you can see that in the orange tents here. But we also see the idea that you can utilize the meadow and the event lawn down here for additional events. So you could see the overflow of what could be happening up towards, it could be an isolated event in the park itself, or if you have an event that's happening up in front of City Hall, it could spill down through that promenade into the park and have overflow possibilities in those two areas.
Yeah, just a couple of quick comments. So those orange boxes, if you go back, and the red boxes and the dash boxes all represent about a 10-foot by 10-foot tent. And so what Phil's talking about is you can actually have 75 tents up at a time per event and still have room for a bunch of other things to happen as well.
So here's an example of a section going through that event space where you have the pavilion itself setting up as a concert with and the lawn space itself and in that event area. The pavilion itself, the flexibility of the pavilion has the opportunity to provide weather protection. But here's an example of the day use. We propose to have it as movable tables and chairs for a lawn area, but then also those tables and chairs can be moved out and an event space could be set up for in the lawn, so it's open and flexible.
So essentially you can have picnics under the shelter during the day or in the shoulder seasons if the weather is not that great, and then you can use it for events. So it's multi-use.
I just got a bad network. Can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Sorry. Just had a warning there, so I just wanted to make sure. The secondary walkways are gravel paths with steel edging. They comprise of additional fixed seating, bollard lighting along there for safety. And as Mark mentioned, we're adding additional LA of trees along those to help as organizing elements. And we see those as dogwoods that would be, again, adding variety and interest and flowering opportunities in fall color. The trails we see as decomposed granite paths, and those all would be lined with supporting woodland garden plantings that would kind of enhance that woodland garden that you see a lot of the rhododendron planting, but help support the understory of those. So ferns and epimedium and things that would be adaptive or adaptive native. The playground itself, we heard pretty clearly from the community that natural play features was a desire. So we were working with a company to find something that would be supportive to that. So we found several playground structures that are made out of a very robust Robinia wood with stainless steel hardware. So it has a longevity, but also it meets the desire that the community really reached out and said they had a strong preference for. Within that area also, we worked with Gary's team to understand, the maintenance requirements for that area. One of the things they said that would be, have a better longevity and less maintenance would be a rubber tile under the playground equipment. So we've worked with them to provide that. And then also there'd be permanent seating opportunities around the edge of the playground, along with accessible drinking fountain. In the community areas, we also see these opportunities to have smaller gathering areas that the community desired in some of the workshops and surveys. These would be the fern glen and the rhododendron garden, which would be comprised of gravel, concrete pavers, and fixed seating. And those would be these smaller breakout areas in which people can go to have lunch or have small conversations. School functions could come out and have outdoor classrooms. Some of the native and adaptive native plants that we were discussing was the giant dogwood, the vine maples, providing that interest for flowering and fall color. The woodland garden, as I mentioned, some ferns at the medium, and the overall character is this image up here that we're really looking at supporting that desire that we heard from the public. That was the character of Homestead Park was really something that they, really encouraged us to support. A lot of the ferns, is a variety of those, along with that it'd be shade loving, then also drought tolerant was really important because we're also proposing to put new irrigation out here. The smaller shrubs and trees would have a open low canopy for visual interest, or for visual sightlines. And then the rhododendrons that we're proposing, I mentioned early on, we're proposing several rhododendrons. Most of these varieties are all going to be 3 to 4 feet high, and so they'll stay compact, which will help support those visual sightlines, and then also minimize the amount of maintenance in the future. So what are you getting in with this new revitalized Homestead Park? As we mentioned, the promenade is that central spine as you move through. It comes with several of the features that we noted. You also have an event space with this pavilion. You have an increased play area that's expanded and improved and supports the character. You also have several site features that are throughout the entire park itself. And then the irrigation as well throughout the park, and then the restroom, which we're locating up towards that event space itself. We do recognize there is, we're providing at this point the option to have the restroom located directly across from the pavilion and the lawn event space. We do recognize there is an alternative location that has been discussed just outside the park in the northwest corner over in Lot 1. This is a potential location that would be integrated into a retail pavilion. Regarding the next steps, so with approval tonight, we would be moving forward with the construction documents and eventually getting it out to bid, and then to have that awarded, and then we can start construction here in the near future. But I think at this time, Mark, unless you have any other kind of closing comments, we can open it up for any questions and a Q&A.
Yeah, let's go ahead
session.
and open it up for Q&A.
Okay.
Mr. Cooper, do you have any final staff comments before I open it up for council comments? Yeah, you are muted, sir.
There we go. Just one, we know that tonight this is not on for an action item or a vote. Right. We realize that. What we're looking for is some head nods that we can move to the next phase, which is development of actual construction documents, get ready to go to bid. That's what we're looking for, some direction, head nod on that way. So just clarify that we know we're not coming for a vote tonight.
Right. Our approval comes at the time that we award the contract, correct?
I'm sorry, repeat the question, please.
I said our approval comes at the time that we award the contract.
Correct. We'd just like to know if this is close enough, can we put pen to paper and start designing? We certainly don't want to have to redesign if we're not on the right page.
Correct. Okay. I see Councilmember Keel, followed by Councilmember McCluskey, and then Councilmember Figueroa. So Councilmember Keel, do you have any brief comments?
I do. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. it gets better every time I see it, and I really appreciate the fact that you stuck with what you heard from us and what you're hearing from our community, and I see a lot of consistency from time to time. A couple questions. Can you go back to slide 28? I believe it is. Yeah. So, this one. So it says we're in Promenade 2 gateways. I think I counted 3, and I was wondering about a 4th one. So there's one at the north and the south end of the promenade, and then there's one on the west side, right? So that's 3 right there that I'm thinking. And then I remember you guys telling us, but I can't remember why we didn't do a gateway at the northeast entry, right by that transformer.
This is an existing gateway that's out there, and so we didn't count this in the actual that we're proposing this. We're proposing the north gateway and the south gateway. Yeah, we did explore a gateway out here. We felt that it would be better supported along the central spine to have the gateways along the promenade itself. We did consider that.
Okay, but there still is an entrance there, right? So it's access to the park, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And then we talked about how do you plan to handle, where you're proposing the bathroom now, but then we also have that talk about that commercial space up there in the northwest corner, on lot 1. So can you talk me through how you're going to figure out which way that's going to go?
Yeah, so that'll be partially input from you, and I think there's some other discussions broadly about restrooms, but that's one of the areas we're looking for some input. And so just to recap, the one option is just a standalone restroom for the park that's shown, there we go, in that location. Or we do something integrated with the retail pavilion on the lot 1 site just at the edge of the property. So it's probably one or the other, but Gary, I don't know if you want to jump in there.
Yeah, Councilmember Keel, how I would suggest doing that is no restroom in the base bid. We could put restroom as an alternate. That way we could move forward with the project and we could add the restroom, whichever or none. It would give the option, but we could still move forward.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good. As long as there's a way forward, because this commercial thing is still kind of up in the air. We'd like to have it, but we don't know, and we don't want to miss out or have it cost an exorbitant amount of money because we didn't have it in the first thing, right? So the restroom. So okay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember McCluskey, followed by Councilmember Figueroa.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going along the lines of Councilmember Keels with the restroom. I think it's essential that we have a flushing, proper restroom here, whichever way we go. If we're going to put it into the proposed discussion later on with the pavilion, to have some, when that facility is closed, to have access on the back end of it for daytime and weekend use, but this park is essentially needs a proper restroom. So that in my mind's eye, I think it's a beautiful design. It's natural. As I'm going through all these visuals and images, it reminds me of Blowdale Park over on Bainbridge Island. I love that park, and it's exciting to see a little snippet of that coming to University Place, and also the increase in the number of trees and the rhododendrons, and how thoughtful they were to size, shape, form, and function within our park as well. It's very thoughtfully done. And is the Fern Grotto being moved over to the other side of the park?
The name is, but the function over where the Grove is still going to be there as a community space, but the character is going to change a little bit.
Okay, so those ferns that are existing there, they're going to be incorporated?
Correct.
Okay.
What we're finding out is that area actually gets too much sun for a lot of the ferns, and so they haven't been very successful. But yes, the intent is to maintain.
I agree.
Yeah,
Okay.
much to your comment about Gglo Reserve, similar types of spaces, and so the idea with the Grove is to bring in a grove of more lighter dappled trees like vine maples as another layer, which will give a little bit shade to those ferns so that they can take off, and then we add some to them, and then we added, because everyone loves ferns and they're nice and dramatic when you do clusters of them, so we added the fern glen area at the edge of the meadow as well.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I like the touch of the nurse logs going through there. That always creates a very organic, natural feel to that. What was the other one? Page 5, you don't have to go back to that. It's just the promenade going all the way through from the north and south. And in that particular slide, it ended almost a third to the halfway into the Albertsons parking lot. And with, future site development, we don't own that, obviously. And so to have, just curious as to what was your thoughts in regards to the incorporation of the south entrance into, I believe, their apartments there right now?
Yeah, Councilmember, thanks for that question. We're looking at that, thinking that this is really a plan for the next 50 years. And so we looked at whether we align with a gap that's there now, or we think that over time, with all the great things that are happening downtown and these improvements, that more improvements will follow. So we decided to take the long road a little bit and try to align that a little more centrally, imagining what it could be a catalyst for in the future. And because it's ending in a gateway, we figured that that would be a good thing to have looking forward and not be too awkward in the meantime. But we're interested in your thoughts on that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, that would be the hope. And if this could be a catalyst, I would welcome that in that particular area. The other question I had were to the pavers. I like the chevron type of design that was zigzagging through it. But a thought in back of my mind was that if you have any issues with visual acuity and perception, that some of that design might feel like there's, for depth perception when it's flat, and they may think that, there's, with movement to the pavers, they might think that there's different elevations. So, be cognizant of that in the design so that people will feel comfortable walking on it and not thinking that they're walking on an uneven surface when they're not.
Yeah, I think the trick with that is to have a gradation. So very slight gradation, particularly in the main walking surfaces. And then we might change color as we get off into the gathering areas. But it's a really good point, and we'll make sure as we make final selections and lay that out that we're thinking about the visually impaired.
Right. Okay. Thank you. And my last comment is that I like where the gateways and some of the ancillary gates coming into the park is more open, because I think it's a more welcoming and inviting environment for people to walk in. I know with the density that's there, sometimes it precludes people from actually filtering through when they don't have the visual perception going through there. So, and I like that you have thought of that as you design the gateways, because we do want to encourage them, and hook them into the park for use. So thank you for all your wonderful work and your collaborative work with our staff and also listening to our public comments, which is so important for the long-lasting use of our parks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Figueroa, followed by Councilmember Wood. You are muted, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. First, Gary, thank you for your leadership with the consultants and our community in getting this done. I think you've really laid it out the way we've envisioned this to open up, and thank you. The other one would be that in line with the restrooms, I agree with, I guess, because one of the things we need to get out of this meeting, study session, is give direction or some kind of consensus to Gary on to move forward for a bit. And I like the idea of not including the restroom, so we can finish that discussion and give a much better consensus on the restroom. So it's just whatever that's worth, because I think you're looking for direction on that. I really believe that we need to leave that out until we complete our thoughts as a council on the restrooms, because I don't believe that we really ended up with a consensus, whether it's a porta potty or a real restrooms, or all of a sudden a third option came in, potentially a community center that has a restroom, which I'm not actually in favor of right now. But that being said, there's still some discussion to be had around restrooms. My last comment would be lighting. For the consultants, whoever wants to answer this, I'd like to hear more about the lighting. This has been is a big issue for public safety, for better use of the park, and I'd like to hear more about that and what would that look like for usage for and our park users. Hello?
Okay, Phil, can I jump into that? Do I need to share a screen, or do you still have access?
I don't have access. Do you have?
Okay. Yep, no problem.
Okay.
Share screen here.
Yes, we've worked just while Mark is bringing this up. Yeah, for some reason I've lost access to our drives at our office, so apologize for that. We've worked with the consultants to develop a hierarchy for the lighting. And so the hierarchy is set up for the highest level of light levels to be along the promenade itself. And so we've developed a fixture, a light level a photometric study. And then the second is to provide it for the secondary walkways, which is essentially from the western portion along through the main gravel trails along that, and then at the pavilion, and then at the playground. And so we're linking all those together, but it goes from the highest light levels from the main central spine down through the promenade, and then lower light levels, and you'll see that in the fixture sizes themselves. Does that?
And just adding a little more detail. So on the promenade, we have these large 20-foot tall light fixtures with a large throw of light. They're shielded, so they're dark sky compliant. They're non-polluting. So you'll have a pretty bright promenade and consistency of lighting for the promenade. In the community spaces, it's more of recessed wall-mounted lights and kind of a glow, a little bit like is shown here. And then for the secondary paths that Phil was talking about.
There's an example on the page, the pools of light. I think it's up a few slides from there, Mark.
Let's see here, getting there. Okay, so then for the secondary pathways, you see these bollard lights and what that light level would look like. So as Phil says, there's 3 levels. The promenade will be lit pretty brightly at night with those large overhead fixtures. The secondary paths will have this low level but pretty clear lighting for walking, and then the gathering areas will have kind of a glow around the base. And so I think it's going to be a big improvement, and there will be a little bit of a hierarchy, but again, they're all dark sky compliant, which means they throw the light down and they won't pollute the dark sky.
And I would add, we worked with the consultant to have light fixtures at the gateways to have color changing capability to be able to kind of highlight seasonal change.
Yeah, and when Phil says consultant, we have a lighting specialist on our team. So doing photometric studies, designing to foot candle standards with that hierarchy we talked about, and then looking again at a good clear light color, resilient fixtures that can easily have the bulbs replaced, LED, all LED lighting for energy efficiency. So we're setting Gary and the team up for success down the road.
So you telling me that the lighting would be enough that you would have your grandmother or their grandchild be able to walk with this lighting and feel safe?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Wood.
Just a couple comments again. First, you were looking for head nods. This is my head nod. I really like where this project is going from where it was first briefed a year ago to now. It's made a lot of progress, and I like where it's going. I am in favor of a permanent bathroom here, not porta potties, so that would be the option I'd be looking at. And then finally, it wasn't anywhere in the presentation, but since there's so much care being put into the aesthetics of the park, I'd really love to see signs added in that fit with the aesthetic. And it could be either directional, saying Fern Glen this way, Drexler Avenue this way, or having those events, those actual areas labeled as well. And I just think an aesthetically appropriate signage plan would be great to have.
Yeah, really good comment. And one of the things I think you picked up on, and also one of the council members mentioned just some of the notions of Lodell Reserve and event areas like it. When you have nice, distinct areas that are named and the character of them is clear and exciting, it really draws people in. So we set that up thinking that that would be a logical desires to maybe have those signed and do something with that. So appreciate the comment. And that's something we should really take under consideration.
Yeah, not only for Homestead Park, but early on, I heard the conversation during the Parks Commission is, almost a regional park wayfinding device in which it's more pedestrian oriented and vehicular. So when you're in the community, you can see that wayfinding of, this park, and it has icons on it and it tells you what's located at those particular parks. I know the community that I'm in Edmonds, we have these wayfinding devices that show each, kind of these areas of where those parks are located and what you find at those particular locations.
Well, I'm the final consensus here, or head nod, and I like the layout of the park. I would, however, like to see the bathroom be bid out as an alternative. Whether or not we choose to go with it, it at least gives us a baseline for what if we decide to go with a pavilion, what that costs versus what installing an actual bathroom in the existing park goes. To not have a bathroom with flowing water for moms and dads with toddlers and small children when you've got mud and whatever else is there is egregious. And a place for seniors to go is definitely needed, as this does currently attract a lot of seniors, particularly wheelchair seniors. So the pathways are going to be fabulous for easy access for generational population. As for Council members Figueroa on lighting, I can tell you I walk that park on a daily basis with my dog, and now that it is dark out, it's off limits. It is hard to see the secondary past what's around the corner, etc., because there is no lighting. So just having pathway lighting is 100% increase over what's existing there, and I can visualize myself walking that path in the evenings or even in the wintertime, late afternoons, and feeling safe and comfortable. So I am all for the part, what you guys are proposing on there, but I would highly, highly recommend that we bid the restroom out as an alternative. we can still, at some future time, as a council, say no to the restroom option. But if we don't bid it in as part of this bid document and come back later and say, well, how much does the restroom cost versus a pavilion that we're potentially thinking about, we've added some unneeded costs to redesign, et cetera. An alternate allows us to say no at the time that we issue construction documents. So that is my recommendation from being in the construction business for 30 some odd years. It's better to ask ahead of time and say no later if it turns out that we choose not to go that route. Councilmember Figueroa, you have a final comment?
Well, just to complete your thought there, Mayor, and I do appreciate your comments, and that is on the restroom. It is a big issue. I do lean toward a permanent restroom, as Councilmember Wood said, mainly, and I think that what you said about the bidding and having that in there, I would agree to and have no problems with that moving forward in that direction. That way, we know we'll have a real restroom because that community center is a long ways, I believe, from really happening, and we got to make sure that we get a restroom for this park. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. If we are going to have events there, that's going to be vital. So,
yes.
Mr. Cooper and our consultants, do you feel you have the information needed to move forward?
We do. This was better than we could have hoped for. We've got clear sailing from here, and we know exactly what to do. We'll come back with some bid documents real soon.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Excellent.
I
Thank you very
apologize
much.
for us being a little bit behind the schedule.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. All right, we are on to our next item, which is our park maintenance legislative proposal. This is our second study session on this item. It was an item that was brought up by Councilmember McCluskey and Councilmember Fleming, who is not here tonight. But I understand that both worked with Gary Cooper on this. So I'm not sure who is going to be addressing the study session. Is it you, Mr. Cooper?
I'm ready to do it. Councilmember McCluskey, if she has any opening words, I'll welcome them, and then I'll jump in.
Okay, thank you. So we're not going to talk about the park pavilion tonight. We're just moving right on, right? Okay.
Correct.
All right. Well, as you all know, the reason why I did this proposal is and we're just focusing right now on our parks and later to focus on our streetscapes for maintenance, because as of the discussion with Mr. Cooper, it looks like there's two different, even though they're all connected with, from streets, bike lanes, sidewalks to trails, it seems to be more complicated if we put them all together. So we separated them out, and so the sidewalks and the streetscapes will be discussed in a different study session. But right now we just want to focus on our parks and looking at the conditions of our parks right now, how they are currently maintained, what the council would like to see maintained in the future, and also the level of quality of our parks maintenance programming going into the future, and what Mr. Cooper believes that is needed to sustain our parks at not only a safe level, but a level that the council and our citizens would be proud of. So he did a lot of extensive work and inventory, and also documenting with his current staff what they do and some of the limitations essentially, and he has broken that down into staffing and also funding. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Cooper.
Okay.
It's all yours.
Yeah, okay, before Mr. Cooper comes on, I see that we're 10 minutes from our scheduled adjournment time, and I know we have this item to discuss as well as one more item on our agenda. So I'd like to request a motion to extend our meeting till 9:30. Do I have a motion to extend till 9:30? Councilmember Figueroa, can I get a motion?
Mayor, I believe that this particular subject matter is not as simple as it may sound. There's a lot of discussion. We're missing two serious council members that could weigh in and make a difference. I propose, since we're running out of time, number one. Number two, there could be a lot of discussion, and certainly would like to hear our other two council members on this issue of staffing, which gets into prioritizing what other staff needs, the city needs, and why are we putting this as a priority now, and the budgeting and where it really should lie. So to me, I think that we should postpone this until we have a full council and we have a full time to discuss this. I see this just with the 4 or 5 of us going around and around for a good half an hour easy by itself. I'm not sure about the other item that we have, how long that's going to go, but that's my feeling. That's why I'm not really asking for a motion to extend this for this reason.
Okay, do I have a motion then to reschedule this particular item on our agenda to a future meeting?
I make a motion that we reschedule this item to a future meeting.
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I have a first and a second. Do I have any objections? Okay, not seeing any. This item will be carried forward at a future meeting, probably into 2022. Okay, then our next item on the agenda is one for discussion, the local ARPA assistance. Again, this will take us past our 9 o'clock cutoff period. So I will need a motion to extend our meeting.
Mayor, Councilmember Keel, I move that we extend, 15 minutes, 20 minutes?
I would say probably the way you guys have been talking tonight, probably better till 9:30.
All right. I'd like to extend it 37 minutes to 9:30.
Okay.
Councilmember Figueroa seconds the motion.
Okay, do I have any objections to extending till 9:30? Okay, not seeing any, our meeting is extended till 9:30. With that, we will go on to the local ARPA assistance. This is our second study session, and Becky Metcalf will do some presentation for us for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. I've been a part of an internal team that's been working on this topic. And since a lot of the material this evening we want to talk about relates to business assistance, I've been asked to just take lead on the presentation. So as you recall, the city is slated to receive approximately $9.4 million as part of the American Rescue Plan. Half of these funds have been received already, with the other half to be received mid-year 2022. Council has expressed an interest in focusing approximately $6.5 million on sewers, and has also expressed an interest in discussing how to deploy funds to provide local assistance. The American Rescue Plan provides funding that can be used in 4 specific categories. This evening, we would like to outline potential uses under the second of these categories, which is addressing negative economic impacts caused by the public health emergency. For ease of discussion, these potential uses are grouped into 2 categories: support to residents through human services assistance and support to local businesses. We'll start looking at human services assistance. There are currently many funding opportunities available to University Place residents and families seeking assistance for things such as overdue rent, mortgage assistance, and utilities assistance, including electricity, water, sewer, gas, garbage, the internet, etc. And a quick review that staff made earlier this year showed that many UP renters have already applied for and received assistance or are waiting in a queue to receive assistance. And the Mortgage Assistance Portal opened on October 11th, 2021. The city has pushed this information to our residents through various methods. Links to funding assistance from various sources can be found on the city's COVID-19 resources page, city social media postings, and has been published in the city's newsletter. So let's talk about business assistance. Guidance regarding the use of funds for business assistance provides a variety of options for supporting local businesses. However, local jurisdictions, in contrast to the CARES funds of 2020, must publicly report assistance provided to private sector businesses and its connection to negative economic impacts of the pandemic. In 2020, under the CARES program, the city provided assistance to businesses through a grant program. In 2 rounds of the program, nearly $700,000 was distributed to 89 unique businesses. Currently, federal, state, and local governments have created a variety of programs to assist the business community, and due to the much more stringent set of requirements to prove economic injury, for many jurisdictions, the emphasis under ARPA has shifted from cash handouts to loan programs, and more recently, comprehensive programs to help businesses build capacity. The latest round of programs to emerge also plan an emphasis on providing service to underserved communities, such as businesses owned by women, veterans, and the Black, Indigenous, people of color demographics. Programs that are currently available to university-placed businesses who qualify are the Emergency Injury Disaster Loan, also known as EIDL, Small Business Flex Fund loans through the state of Washington, Comcast RISE programs, and the Pierce County Business Accelerator program. And a matrix of these programs is provided in your agenda packet as Exhibit A of the ARPA funding memorandum. Should council desire to allocate a portion of the ARPA funds to business assistance, we have identified several options. The first of these is to support an existing program to increase business resiliency and capacity that is available to UP businesses, such as the Pierce County Business Accelerator program, and this is administered entirely by Pierce County. The program is outlined a little bit in the memo that you see and also on the matrix, and it provides, I believe, a real comprehensive program for long-term success of the business. A business applies to be a part of the program, and then businesses who are accepted go through in cohorts of up to 25 business owners. The first part of the program is education or training, and so the business owners attend courses 2 nights a week for 6 weeks. They learn things about running a business because honestly, and my experience has been a lot of our business owners get into business because they have a passion for what they do, and they're not necessarily educated in how to run a business. So this sets them off on a good solid footing, this training that they do. And then they also receive 1 year's worth of free private coaching mentoring by someone who will walk alongside them as they grow their business. They're given assistance in going out and looking for funding, and any funding they receive will be matched by the program up to $10,000. They also, when they find a location to open in, they receive $500 rent stipend per month for a year. So I believe this program provides, on a long-term basis, ability to get some of our businesses moving forward that might kind of be stuck because they don't have the knowledge they need or even the resources or knowing how to get to it. Funding for this program is initially was by Pierce County. They invested a large chunk of some of their ARPA funds into it, and another local municipality has also provided funding, which helps to extend the program's reach. With additional funding, more businesses can be served. Another option that we've looked at is providing reimbursement to UP businesses who pay a signing bonus to employees. According to the results of the recent University Place business study, finding employees to work is the #1 COVID-related impact experienced by our business. This would address one of the primary stress points currently impacting many businesses, the other being supply chain difficulties. If council wishes to proceed with this option, several criteria that the council might want to consider include setting a cap amount that each business can receive, identifying the length of time an employee would have to work before receiving the signing bonus, and focusing assistance to specific business types. And the types that I think are, that I have run into that have the most difficulty right now finding employees are personal services, businesses, and restaurants. Other ideas of supporting the business community have been discussed internally as well, including providing assistance to commercial property owners, paying past due commercial customer utility accounts, or providing child care assistance to employees. Various issues surrounding these options led staff to conclude that these programs were not the most effective way to support the business community. Staff recommendations. On human services, we recommend that because there is a broad base of resources available, staff is not recommending any new city-run programs or funding at this time. For business assistance, and I want to kind of give context for the recommendation here. Our feeling is, and my experience from dealing with the business community is telling me businesses are not in an extreme circumstance at this time. Last year in 2020, we had businesses that several would have closed their doors if they didn't receive a cash check from us. And when I did calls earlier this year, I called all of the businesses that received grants from us last year. And the first question I asked them was, how are you doing? 75% of those businesses said, we're either turning the corner or we're doing good. My other anecdotal information has been, I've quit receiving texts from businesses and emails asking if we have more money to give out. I just am seeing that maybe handing out checks at this time is not the most effective way to build our business community. And I think it makes sense to help build some capacity and resiliency now in these businesses so that they strengthen themselves and grow. And the next time maybe we hit a huge bump in the road like we did with COVID, they'll be in a better place to withstand that. So with regard to the other option, staff believes that a hiring bonus program could be implemented relatively easily and within ARPA guidelines. So we would need to look again at some of those considerations that council would like to set, for example, caps and how much each business can receive. So that's a quick summary of the memo that you have in your agenda packet.
Thank you, Becky. Okay, any questions or comments from council? Councilmember Figueroa.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Becky, for that summary of so much work and so much thought that goes around this whole expenditure of funds and how do we really do put it to use and leverage it. I know it's not an easy answer. There actually isn't a book that says this is how to do it. And a matter of fact, I don't think that the money came with any instructions on how to best to use it, which is nice, but it also creates a dilemma. I'm not too much in favor of, well, let me do a clarification. First of all, on the Pierce County Accelerated Program, do we pay as we have UP businesses join, or do we just give a chunk and hope that some UP businesses join?
You know, council member, that's an interesting way you phrase that question, because I recently had discussions with Betty Capistani, who is Economic Development Director of Pierce County, and raised the option with her of the possibility that the city would pay as University Place businesses were accepted into the program. And she was quite open to that option. She said she thought it definitely could work. It costs $27,500 per business that goes through the program.
Okay, so $27,500 for a business to go through that program. Does that include the $500 per year? If it and does it include the? I guess you mentioned a $10,000 grant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yes.
So that's 15,000 out of the 27,000 that is actually cash. That's assuming that the business actually stays with the program and gets that cash.
Yes.
To me, I don't feel it. I just don't feel it. I like to. I would rather. And especially, and if I did feel it, it would be only as we have a UP business doing it, going in. I certainly am not, and would be totally against any monies to Pierce County with the intention that, some UP business will actually go through there and actually complete the program and get our money's worth. So that being said, moving on, my preference is to see it us directly giving it to us directly, meaning UP directly giving the assistance to the businesses directly. And the hiring bonuses, we all know, and I'm not making this up because you should probably seen signs all over UP, signs all over this county, signs in the media saying about hiring and about inflation because we can't get people to go to work as part of the equation of inflation. I think that UP is not in the bubble. We have that problem, and I think that we should really encourage our council members. I'm talking to my council members now, that we provide direct assistance to our businesses for hiring bonuses that says, okay, if you hire somebody and they know they're going to get a bonus, they get such a bonus for staying for so long, etc. That to me is a big deal, and I do hear it from businesses that one of their major issues is getting people, not only hiring them but to stay. So it is a real problem, and it is caused by COVID. And so the other one is daycare. It's a big issue. It's a big debate going on about employers and companies, businesses to raise the salaries for people to be able to afford to even go to work. And as you all of us have heard that debate. I think that we have a chance now to help with that. And one of those big costs is daycare. It costs more in daycare than what they can make. And so one of the, for the reasons that people are not going back to work, there's many reasons. One of them is daycare. And so I think that that's an area that we should provide assistance for someone that is willing to go to work so that we can get services done and have stores open for 100%. I mean, I go into businesses and they're closed, or they're closed at certain hours, or they don't have enough people being able to keep to have everybody that they need to service. So I think that we need to provide daycare assistance. I think we need to provide hiring bonuses, and I think that to a certain degree, I know you didn't mention it, but and it gets into the training part. I think this Pierce County Accelerated Program is a little bit too elaborate for the cost, and there's a chance of how many of these businesses will actually finish the program. But there is, being interesting to see if there's any senior training, since there's a issue with finding people to go to work. Can we entice seniors who, there's a lot of smart seniors with a lot of experience that probably are wondering how their retirement is going to go, that wouldn't mind going back, but some of them are fearful. Can there be some courses or training for seniors that this can help so that they can feel comfortable going back to work in certain personal services arena? So I think that we need to look at how, I guess what I'm saying, council members, is how do we directly involved in providing the assistance, not passing down this money to another agency and in the hopes that something's going to happen, especially for the amount of money that we're talking about. If we can come up with something we can do directly to our community, then I should say, let's put the money in more commercial sewers and infrastructure. And that way we know that our city gets impacted directly from us. Thank you.
Councilmember Wood, followed by Councilmember Keel.
So Becky, thank you for your research and coming here. I also appreciate you going back to the county to look into that issue. I thank you very much for that. So my comments in general on what's going on here. The key thing is that we get, for whatever we spend this money on, that we get something measurable and tangible in return. So that's why, again, I wasn't in favor of the Business Accelerator program without having it be directly tied to the city of University Place. And having said that, I actually like the idea of the program, but I would like to make sure that we have constraints on it. For example, businesses would have to sign up for it between now and, say, I don't know, I'll throw out April of 2023. If at that point there's any money left over in the program, that would then get allocated towards something else, like an infrastructure project that, augment the sewer fund or something like that. So that it would be a time-limited program, we'd advertise it, and we'd try and encourage UP businesses to sign up. But if at some point they don't, or they're, whatever it is, we just call the program, either by date or by funding. Second, the signing bonuses one. Actually, I half agree with what Javier was saying. The half I agree with is we need to look at the root causes of why people aren't coming back to the workforce. And childcare, I believe, is definitely one of those. I have a concern about signing bonuses is that will actually poach people who are already working from one business to another. And that doesn't help anybody. If all of a sudden 2 restaurants just trade staffs, I want to have some, I don't know how you can control that, which is why I'm a little concerned about signing bonuses. But if there's obstacles for people getting back in the workforce, again, like childcare, I'd be strongly in favor of looking into something like that as well. And the other thing is, and I have no idea the legality behind this, so I'm just thinking out loud now, take it for what it's worth. I know for the city itself is having trouble recruiting for a couple of key positions. One is, I believe, a heavy equipment operator. Another one's a drafter for engineering. Can we use any of this money for a hiring bonus or signing bonus for those key positions so that we can fill a specific city need? I don't know if that's legal or not for what we're talking about here, but I'd be interested to know. And that's all I got, other than I'd just like to see definite measurables that the city can point to at the end of this when the money is spent. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Keel.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I really enjoyed what my 2 fellow council members said before me. It's some good things to think about. The question, Becky, I have, could you elaborate a little bit more on this new money? It's not CARES, it's the new money. You talked about that there's a lot of stipulations as far as having to report and all that stuff. Can you give me a flavor for what that is?
Maybe I could ask the city attorney to jump in here. I know he's been doing a lot of research on that, Matt.
So this is the part of the program where it's called Phone a Friend. So here's the thing, Councilmember Kill. With the federal program, the best way to think about this with the reporting requirements, this is very similar to what we would see with any other sort of federal funds. For example, one of our public works projects has an example. cares a lot of there were reporting requirements to be sure, but a lot of the intensive reporting requirements we didn't see. So what we're looking at the end of the day, when it comes to business assistance, is we have to tie it directly to a COVID-related connection and a COVID-related need. So to go back a second to Councilmember Wood's question from a minute ago for the city's concerns with our staffing shortages, unless we can say, because of COVID, we can't fill that position, we can't use those funds to fill that need. So when we're looking at these funds, we have to identify what is the need within our community. And Becky's done a fabulous job in reaching out to our businesses and identifying those needs that she's outlined, which is how do we get those people? So we know that that's a need. So we can deploy funds to address those identifiable needs. We know that staffing is one such need. So how do we then bridge that gap towards there? The reporting requirements, get there, because we can say, if we can bridge that staffing component and we're making measurable efforts. Where it gets trickier is if we're handing money out strictly to businesses, a business says, hey, I need money. Well, okay, you need money, but for what COVID related purpose? Then we're looking at their books and that sort of thing. That's where things start to go a little wonky from there.
Yeah, I mean, and thank you for that. I'm not interested in creating, exorbitant amount of work on staff. But out of the other side of my mouth, I would say that's the role of staff, right? I mean, you're there to put together programs and do things, and we do reporting all the time. So I'm just trying to get a feel for what degree of reporting we're talking about. Is this something that's just normally that we would do, or is this something that's just way over and above? So I don't really have a clear answer to that.
Yeah, and remember who at the end of the day is going to be, where the downstream effects of that reporting are. Because you're right, staff has a responsibility for that reporting requirement, but we're going to be asking potentially those businesses for those records for that. And some of them may not be comfortable or familiar with those reporting requirements, much less comfortable handing over those documents over to a governmental entity. So if we can come up with a program that minimizes their burden, that goes a long way towards everybody.
Yeah. So I guess my comment would be, Mayor and fellow council members, is really understanding what that reporting is so that we can get a good judgment for if it's going to be something that's going to put the city in a liable kind of situation, or on the hook to pay back dollars if the reporting isn't done. I mean, we need to be really on solid ground for me to spend any of these dollars, because that's a risk that's very high in my mind. That we're caught giving money back. So that being one comment. I like the child care thing, because it is, I think, directly related to COVID. And I was thinking I like the hiring program, but now listening to Councilmember Wood, I'm not liking it so much. Maybe it's we put something, Becky, in there that says you got to hire a person that's been out of work for 6 months. Right. As opposed to coming directly from some other job. Yeah. So I mean that's an idea, right? And then they got to stay a year, that kind of thing like that. So I think that might be a way to get around that, maybe. And the other comment that I had, this thing about the county doing work. I guess I'm not as worried about working with the county in this regard, because I think that there are things that we can, just like with the reporting, that we can put around how we give it to them. And Becky, you said it, was that we would say to them, this can only go for UP businesses and only after they sign up. Okay. And then once they sign up, and then we'll engage with you. And then along the way, there's got to be check boxes that they need to hit as far as the 6 weeks and then the other training. And then maybe we dole out that $27,500 in increments as those businesses hit those milestones, and not just write them a whole check for $27,500 for a whole business up front. But no, that we've got these they're doing reporting to us, right? You know, and then we're able to do that. And we would need that because, again, we have to report as well, right? So I think there's some things around that. And what I like about that is it does get us out of the reporting piece. I think, if I'm thinking about this correctly, then it's something that the county is going to have to report back, you know, and then we're not having to do that. But we're still focusing our dollars on all this. My last comment is that I, you know, after saying all of that stuff, there still is a number that I don't have in my head that I'd like to hear from staff, and hopefully that we work as a council that we want to overlay for all this. I know we got that whatever $3 million left out of the 6, but I think we need to have a overall number of what that is for all these things, and then we focus on that. And I hope it's not all of the 3 million, right? So, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, before I call on Councilmember McCluskey, we are 5 minutes before end of time, so I will need another extension as both Denise McCluskey and I still have comments to make. So can we extend it for another 15 minutes? Motion, please.
I move that we extend for another 15 minutes, and Councilmember Figueroa and myself don't talk anymore. So.
That'd be good. Do I have a second?
Councilmember Figueroa seconds with an amendment that I get to give at least 2 more minutes.
Any objections? Okay, I don't see any. We are extended to 9:45. Denise McCluskey, the floor is yours for brief comments, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Did we pass that with Councilmember Ken's amendment?
No.
All right.
You're wasting time, ma'am.
Okay, well, pardon me, Mayor?
I said you were wasting time there.
Excuse me?
Go.
All right. You know, I was thinking about these funds and some of the comments that were transpired, and I am really looking at how we can actually tie these things so that it could be COVID related to leverage the funds, even with the Business Accelerator Program, to the businesses that are interested, were they really COVID related issues? And, you know, for their marketing, for their business knowledge, I don't really see that in alignment. You know, during COVID, they probably were not that prepared. You know, they were passionate, but they were not that prepared to be business people. You know, they needed more knowledge. So I don't think the leverage COVID funding for them would be warranted under the ARPA funding. And quite honestly, I think if the UP businesses were interested, they could go under the county umbrella for that. And the University Place really doesn't need to, you know, be that concerned about that programming. They would still qualify. The other aspect is the hiring on bonuses. Hiring on bonuses are only good to a certain point in time. You know, it doesn't mean that the business is going to be sustainable in retaining the employees, because there's other competitive factors in there with, and so I don't really see the viability of a hiring on bonus. And tying that to how is that really COVID related? I'm not sure we could really tie that. It's probably, you know, how happy is the employee at the end of the day? What is their hourly rate pay? What are their benefits? I think those things impact retention and also recruitment, and that is a business function, not a city function to get involved with. So lastly, I really am intrigued by the childcare factor that's COVID related, because that is very indicative that COVID did greatly impact that. And I think that is something we can tangibly relate to and tie into it to revitalize some of the child care facilities, their capacity. And if we can also tie the funding into the workers that are now re-engaged into work because of our funding, to leverage the ARPA funds in that factor. So pre-COVID, they were working, boom, COVID hit. Child care facilities are not optimal right now. They don't have the capacity. It's very limited and expensive. And I see that where the ARPA funds could be easily tied to situations such as that. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember McCluskey. I think the Pierce County program is a viable program and could potentially be linked to COVID in that small businesses struggled the hardest with this unexpected pandemic, and providing them with the financial and educational resources for them to plan ahead not only will help them with the next variant and other other pandemics that might be in the future, coming down in the future, but it would also help to align with our economic development that we keep talking about, and business retention and helping those small businesses grow and become successful. I would be willing to consider partnering with Pierce County to focus strictly on UP businesses, and maybe asking that it be prioritized with those that can show financial impact the toughest because of COVID, and they're not able to currently take advantage of the upswing in the marketplace because of a lack of understanding that they have for business. Having been a small business accountant for many years in my career, I can tell you that most businesses, as Ms. Metcalf said earlier, form on passion and not necessarily a firm understanding on business budgeting and forecasting, and being able to do the business planning that is needed to be able to secure loans and to be able to apply for ARPA and CARES. So we would be setting up our small business community, which is mostly our home-based business and some of our brick and mortar small businesses, with a financial footing that they could go into this next pandemic that may be around the corner, or any other economic situation that might come down. So I would love to see that we could easily point to successes on that and show where our money's gone. As far as any employment or employment assistance to businesses, I'm not in favor of that, because, as many of you have said, it's a one-time shot. It is a private business decision, and there's no guarantee that we have continuity in employment. The daycare is definitely impacting employability of our local residents. COVID basically wiped out half of our daycares throughout the country, and they've not been able to reopen because they were small businesses, and for a multitude of other reasons and the cost, et cetera, are not able to reopen. That increases the cost. If we were to look at some daycare subsidies, I would not look at it as a subsidy, but a way to assist our existing daycare or prior daycare providers in University Place, and work with them to figure out how to open their doors and expand their services for those that are currently engaged in daycare. To do a daycare subsidy to our residents, I don't think solves the problem, because it's short term, and this is a long-term financial thing, and once you provide subsidies, then it becomes an ongoing cost that we would need to look for to budget. But if we can work with businesses to get them up and running and see what they need to expand those services to our residents so that they can get up and go to work, I think would be far more beneficial. But that requires a longer dive into the numbers and to the need, and conversations with pre and post-pandemic daycare providers in our neighborhood. I am more in favor of being able to use our ARPA money where we can directly point to our citizens and say, this is what your money bought. And that's why I've been an advocate from the get-go of using that money for our infrastructure improvements. And we can point to the block, to the line, to the resident that actually benefited directly from this investment. But I am open to considering a small set aside to need, if it pans out mathematically, to provide assistance in the form of opening businesses or helping them expand and develop their knowledge base for the future. And Councilmember Figueroa, since you were provided with 2 minutes, it is now 9:32, so you have until 9:34 for your last comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Really appreciate it.
Extension.
I think that this is for Becky and staff. If wasn't sure about how the knots went here for the Pierce County assistance, but if that went a little bit further, I think that having some kind of a package that says, I think we're all on the same, council members on the same page. We have to be accountable. Pierce County would have to be accountable as to the money spent. So if a business spends in and they don't get to the 10,000 or the 5,000, we don't spend it. And so that way we're not giving them monies that is not actually being provided to the businesses. That's number one. And I think that I like Councilmember Wood's comments that give it a year of letting businesses know. If it isn't, we got to take that money and go put it to use. I don't think that after a year, if businesses are asked to join it, and we also have to decide how many, because at 27,500, that could be real spendy. So I think that's something we have to think about. Lastly, is that I like your thoughts, Mayor, about the daycare, direct subsidy versus daycare businesses. I think that's where we should be heading. I do agree with that. I just wanted to put that out. How staff helps us with thinking that through is important. And lastly, I know it sounds like I might be outvoted, but I still think that there should be a hiring bonus of some sort to help out with people that have not been able. I like the idea what Kent said about, if you haven't been employed for 6 months and this hire bonus, gets them in to help a business, and they're in there for a year and they get a bonus. I really think that's worth something for us to really think about. Thank you.
Okay. Any other final comments? I do. Councilmember Wood, your final comments.
There I am, just real quick. And just to echo what Councilmember McCluskey was saying, the next time we come back to this, if the whatever 2-3 options we're looking at could have just a really brief legal take on it to say, can we do this within the realm of the ARPA Act? I mean, I'm pretty sure these were all presented with the idea that we could do that anyway. Just, have Matt or, come up and say, hey, this is how we think we can do it, or we can, or we can't. I just appreciate that.
Yep. Nope, I definitely agree. Okay, does staff have enough for the next study session on this? And of course, given the fact that we have 2 council members that will probably weigh in on this with divergent ideas. But we have enough so that we can have a thorough discussion again on this. Fortunately, we do have some time.
I believe so. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Not seeing any further input or comments at this time, I will adjourn this meeting 10 minutes early.